what advice would you give to companies that are just starting their journey into people analytics?
Yeah, so you don't have to start big. You don't have to, your first project does not have to be a predictive model, okay? If you can really get to what are the senior leaders driving in their strategy? What are the huge priorities of your business? And choose one that you know that you have data available for to help. Show the value that way. Start small, okay? Bring people in. Get them so that they want more. Okay, don't show them everything the first time, because then that draws them in, and then they start to realize the power that data can have.
Yeah, I think because that's the question I hear a lot of at our meetings is, what should we focus on and when should we start? Those are the two questions that come up. So you just say really identify an area in the business which they're working on, and then see if you have the data available, and then start there. Would that be right?
Absolutely, because the thing is that every company is driving a unique culture, a unique agenda. You can't say, oh, well, start with attrition. Okay, you might not have a problem with attrition in your company. You can't say start with internal mobility. Well, maybe that's not a focus area for your company at all. Okay, you're not really in the business of moving people around the company into different jobs. Every company has a unique strategy, and so if you start with that strategy, you can really hone in on what's important to the senior leadership team. Because the idea is that you want to make sure that you are doing impactful work. Okay, and so, look at the work that's already being done and try to figure out how you can plug into that.
Mm-hmm. Could you share some advice on terms of how to gather that data? Because something, again, that I hear often is these things are fantastic, but if you don't have the data to support it, or the right data going in to the system, it doesn't work. Could you share some advice on how they can get the right data and best use the data that they have at their hands?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible where we are today compared to 15 years ago when I was starting out. I mean, 15 years ago, we didn't have Workday, okay? We didn't have these HCM, employee data management technologies that we have today. And so oftentimes what you do is just kind of look at the technology that you have and the abilities that it has to capture data, okay, and how to line that up to the strategies and kind of the analyses that you want to do. But today, years ago, we had to basically create our own offline databases for every data element we wanted to capture. We don't have that problem anymore, okay? We at Microsoft, we're using SAP SuccessFactors, okay? And it's great. It's an amazing technology for us to have everything in one place. And even though we use a separate recruiting system, which is iCIMS, we're able to put the data into Azure, into our data lake, and combine them all into one place so that we can report on them. Okay, so even taking, different systems, we don't necessarily need to make sure that they are 100% integrated. We don't have to put all of our data back into SuccessFactors. We can put it into the data lake, and that way we can, put it into Power BI and data visualizations, anything that we want to do in order to analyze.
What skills do you think companies need to acquire or even develop internally in order to effectively do HR analytics?
Yeah, so I don't necessarily think you always have to acquire. I think developing is definitely something it's what we did when we were starting out. Most of us came from finance, okay? Because a lot of those skills were transferable. Once we got a little bit more sophisticated, we did have to go out and find a statistician. Then, of course, we had industrial and organizational psychologists that worked at Microsoft. But it was more around the fact that we brought everyone together into one team. Okay, so we had the IO psychologists sitting in the people and organizational capability team, and we had kind of the central analytics team that was mostly made up of finance folks or people with MBAs that had more consulting backgrounds. They were sitting in a separate organization, and then we had kind of miscellaneous, I would say, reporting folks sitting within the line organizations, the different businesses. And what we needed to do was bring them all together, because once you bring all of these different skills together, you can start telling a holistic story that we weren't really able to get previously. So I often say that that my team is like a big puzzle, okay, there are lots of different puzzle pieces and they have to fit together perfectly. And if they fit together perfectly, you have this beautiful picture at the end. I just wrote an article on LinkedIn about the fact that can change over time, okay, depending on where you are in the journey of people analytics. So where you start out may not be where I am today. Okay, because it doesn't necessarily make sense to hire a data scientist if you can't even get people to trust the data that you have in the system. You know, like you hire the data scientist once you have a bunch of data, people that can trust and that you can do some deep analytics on.
So what does your team structure look like now?
Yeah, so my organization's made up of 4 teams. I have a advanced analytics and research team. So that team is really my advanced researchers. I have the industrial and organizational psychologists on this team, the data scientists, people that have deep subject matter experts in different types of aspects of HR, like learning strategies. So that is the advanced analytics research team. They also own our engagement survey, our annual engagement survey, and then we have a daily pulse survey. Then I have a team that's aligned to our HR line organizations. Okay, so at Microsoft with over 110,000 employees, you can imagine that we have very, very different businesses. Okay,
sure,
and so
sure.
there are at times that they need specialized analytics for their businesses. Okay, think of the sales organization compared to the engineering teams. And so we have analysts that are aligned to these different line organizations to kind of help them with specific business challenges that they're having. Then I have another team that's focused on our centers of excellences. Okay, so those are the organizations such as Global Diversity and Inclusion, our Global Talent Acquisition, our HR Services, which is our operations team, and then our talent management and learning and development organizations. So we have that analyst team that's focused on COEs. They're really helping them make really good programmatic decisions. Okay. And then finally, I have a tools and technology team, and they partner directly with our IT team, okay, on the tools and technologies that our customers, our HR customers use internally. So those are the 4 teams that I have right now.
What are some of the things that you think you could have done better to engage the board? And I think one of the biggest challenges is you have the data, but how do you tell it in a story that the leaders can understand?
Yeah, and I think that was definitely what you just articulated is definitely one of, I wish that I had done that better. I wish that I had been better at storytelling way back then, okay? And really connecting the HR analytics to the business value, okay? And showing that without using the data, this is the decision that would have been made. And one of the tactics that we used often to get this type of senior level attention is myth busting. Okay.
Sounds interesting.
What?
That's a good title.
Yeah, myth busting, exactly. Yeah. And so what I said to my team is, listen, keep your ears open for statements that people are making that are not backed in data, but that we have data to be able to prove or disprove. Okay, so we started doing that, and wow, that really helped a ton, okay? To be able to go to a senior leader that made a comment and say, hey, actually, we did some analysis, and it's actually, the data says the opposite, okay? Or to be able to go to a senior leader and say, hey, that statement that you made, I know it wasn't based in data, but we did the analysis, and that's 100% spot on. Okay, and actually, this is the data now that supports the statement that you just made.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and share so that others can benefit from the great knowledge and experience. See you tomorrow.